Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Tim Gillette Show, and I am Tim Gillette, your host this evening, and I'm excited to bring you one more great interview today. And I'm excited about this one because this person really is a fascinating person. Now, I read a little bit about her, all right? You know me. I'm going to do just a little bit, but I'm going to get to know them on air. First of all, her name, all right, is Angela LaRue. I mean, first of all, that's a name that you just like, you got to know who the person is because it just sounds so pretty, all right, that you want to know them. And then I go dig into what she does, and I'm sure she's going to give us a little more in depth. But another friend of Kathy's who sent us over here, and we're going to get to know her live on air tonight. Let's bring her on here. Angela, how are you tonight?
Beautiful. It is so lovely in the Rockies. And hello, everybody out there.
Hey. Wow. I've been looking forward to the interview with you all day because you just had like that glow that I was like, okay, this person is going to be someone to shine and brighten up my evening to close the day. So you're not going to, not to give you high hopes, to give you, high stats, but I'm sure you're not going to let me down.
No.
So the name, okay, first I got to ask the name, all right? That is just so beautiful of a name, Angela LaRue, all right? Like,
thank you.
It's like a piece of poetry.
Yeah, and it's fun because my middle name is Christine.
Okay.
And so when you put it together, Angela is the feminine of angel, Christine is of Christ, and then LaRue is a French word meaning like a little street. So I'm Angel of Christ of the street.
Even the description, Angela, is poetic. Wow. Yeah. So this is really going to be an interesting show. Well, you said you live in the Rockies. All right. Whereabouts do you live in the Rockies?
I live in Boulder.
Okay. Boulder.
We often call it the Republic of Boulder.
The Republic of Boulder. Okay.
It's kind of a spiritual think tank here. There's a lot that happens. It's anybody who's ever lived here for a little bit remembers it very strongly.
And how long have you lived there? Did you grow up there or?
No, I didn't. I grew up in New Mexico, but I've been here about 6 years now. So my office is here. This is actually my office. Yeah. Well,
that's pretty cool. Yeah, this is my office. Not as glorious looking as yours. Mine's just a plain old gray thing. But hey, you sound like more of an artiste than I am.
Well, I'm a mystic.
Okay. Please explain what that means to me so I can understand it. And so can my audience. Yeah.
Okay. I had a spontaneous awakening in December 9th, 2011, 2:00 in the afternoon. And with that came in, connection with my higher self. So I suddenly had a voice in my head talking to me, directing my life. But I was also able to see multidimensionally, and a lot of spontaneous psychic abilities came in at the same time. And so it took a long time to get that all landed on the tarmac. But when I did, I'm now a healer. I'm a psychic surgeon. Oh, I can't say that. I'm a psychic intuitive.
I don't mind if you say it on my
I manufacture orgone generators and solfeggio frequencies, which are energy recycling. They clean up energy, or they produce certain frequencies that help us heal, get our mind in line with our soul path, or evolve our consciousness. And I'm also the founder of a mystery school. So I teach the psychic abilities, which is pretty vast. I had no idea. I was just a little, middle class church going girl singing in the choir when this all happened to me. And I wasn't prepared for all of this. So it took a while to get it landed. And and then to get comfortable enough with it that I could begin to help other people who were also spontaneously awakening. 2012 was a big time. We got a big wave of energy from the galactic center, and it caused a lot of people to awaken. So, or begin to.
I mean, this is just fascinating to me. All right, when you say it was an awakening and how you woke up to this in 2011. For me, it's hard to fathom. So, I'm going to ask probably some weird questions about it, but I really want to know this. All right.
Be prepared for some weird answers.
Cool. Awesome. I told you this was going to be fun. Well, no, I mean, so when that did, I mean, first of all, was your first, initial feeling like a feeling of shock, or was this like, oh, glory, thank God this is happening? Okay, so explain which one yours was.
So do you remember in The Matrix when Neo gets unplugged from the vat that he's in and sent down a tube and lands wet and naked in a spaceship?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what it's like. Yeah, you arrive naked and confused in a brand new world. You have a completely changed paradigm, at least for spontaneous awakenings. Now, there's gentle awakenings where people do it in increments, and they have, epiphanies over the years, which, slowly, gently awakens them. That's the nice way to do it, as opposed to, the God smack, which is what I got. So what happened to me is I was actually on a business call.
Okay.
And I was talking with the gentleman, and I got really thirsty, and I went into my kitchen to get a drink of water, and I could suddenly see through the cabinets and see through the walls to the outside world and some other stuff too, which I didn't understand. And I thought, maybe it's just a hot day and I'm dizzy and my sight's a little wonky. I'll just have some water and I think everything will be okay. And I got a glass of water and I turned around to leave the kitchen, and all of a sudden there was this like gray silvery mist forming in my kitchen, and it grew bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I fell into it. And I'm on the phone yelling, "I'm falling, I'm falling." And I just fell into no place. There was nothing there. I could only see out around me 2 or 3 feet, which I later learned was about the extent of my auric field. And it was a gentle glow. There was no walls, no sides, no top, no bottom. There was just falling. And at some point, I came back into my body, and my body was sliding down the kitchen cabinet, and water was sloshing all over me. And it was probably the water that brought me out of it. And I basically was like, I got to get off the phone. And I went into the kitchen and I laid down because I didn't feel like upright was anything I could handle. I needed to get as flat to the earth as I could. And the next thing that happened was I learned many years later it was the Kundalini began. But at the time, I thought lightning came up out of the ground and shot up my spine and blew out my head.
Oh, wow.
So it was about a 3-month journey from there. I was going into my 20th year of marriage, and there was a journey there of doctors, and I took psychological tests and IQ tests, and I thought maybe I had an aneurysm, or I don't know, ate a really bad salad, something. There had to be some logical explanation. And we went through everything. I was perfectly sane. I was perfectly rational. I still had all my intelligence. I just seemed to see a lot of extra information around us and have lots of knowing. And my husband at the time, which this blew up our marriage, had very high level security clearances, and I could see into the building that he was in, and this unnerved him to no end. That was not cool. And I really needed to leave and get myself together, and have him very separated from that. And so that we got divorced, and I went off on the spiritual road. I became, a gypsy for a while. I tried to figure all this out. I could instantly remote view. I was instantly empathic, telepathic. And I could feel all these crazy energies in the world. It was a lot to land. I mean, looking back on it now, it's pretty cool. But, for a good solid 3 years, I went back and forth between shock and horror, utter confusion, and total bliss. So it was quite a roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of, have you seen the movie with John Travolta, Phenomenon? Have you seen that one?
I think I have.
But I mean, because it sounds his was like something in the brain that hit him, but he thought it was like a star that shot at him. And it really, know, and woke him up to be able to do all kinds in the movie. But I personally have epilepsy. All right, and it came from a head injury, or what they thought was a head injury, while I was in a loading dock, and you know, some of the waking up of what you think, they eventually found out it was epilepsy that I had. But still, I went through all of that, very similar to what you went through, being checked out, because I'm like, what the hell happened? Okay, I sat down here to have a cup of coffee, and I woke up in an ambulance because someone found me passed out.
Yep.
And you know, all I could imagine, I mean, I couldn't imagine half the stuff that I thought that was going on in my mind until it was explained to me the next day. And because I at least had people around. You didn't have anybody around to see it, though, did you?
No, I was on a business call.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I was actually really disappointed when I wasn't crazy, because I thought maybe, you know, a nice padded room or some medication would solve it. It took a very long time to realize I was never going back to normal again.
Yeah.
And I would go to bed every night, you know, thinking, okay, in the morning, life will be normal again. And it never happened. And eventually I adjusted, and, you know, we humans have incredible capacity, and we can adjust to the most paradigm shifting things. Given enough time, we can adapt.
Yeah. So I mean, in the beginning, you know, it's almost like in the beginning, you're like, oh my God, I'm cursed. And then eventually you found the blessing into it.
Right. I learned to trust spirit was the first thing. And then I had to go through the dark night of the soul, which is where the ego goes through surrender. It really, truly realizes it's just not the boss of everything. Okay. And that there's another boss. And it has to learn how to play nice in the sandbox. And, you know, I spent most of that period, that was like my 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. And I spent most of that curled into a fetal ball wailing, you know, but we finally got that sorted out.
So I mean, so you go through all of this, you come out on the other side. What were you doing in business before this? And are you still, did you just tweak the business, or are you in a whole nother business now?
Totally different. I used to be a professional artist. In fact, you can see some of the art on the walls behind me. I was a galleried artist, and I served on charity boards, and, you know, just a very ordinary life, really. Yeah, I thought I was accomplishing something.
Well, no, I love art. I'm still trying to find my perfect painting to go right here behind me. So
there you go.
I love like Jackson Pollock type paintings.
Sure.
I really want an original, but like, you know, it's coming. Someday I will afford an original. But but no, you know, it's interesting that, you know, you made that twist, and now you found, I mean, really, you're on a whole nother business that you never thought would be possible.
Yeah, and and it's not even a business. It's spirit inspired. It's a calling. It's actually, I know what I'm here. I know why I came to Earth now, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I had to be able to land everything well enough to be able to speak it, to be able to teach it. And that's a whole nother level. It's no longer in the esoterical mist anymore. You actually have to land it down in the, in the third dimension to be able to help other people move into fifth dimensional consciousness. So, part of my life now is being dimensionally appropriate. So, but yeah, it's a phenomenal what we can do. We are truly so much more than we know.
I would love to know how I could do more. So we're definitely going to be in touch now. But here's what I want to know is, now you're working with other people using these skills, these talents, this gift that you've been given to help others, find the enlightenment and find what they want in their world. Explain how you help them.
And it really depends how they come. So there's the stuff in the mystery school tradition, which is learning how to get turned on, tuned in, and shine your light, and that involves, a lot of things. That's, from getting in control of your, empathic skills to learning how to take care of your energy body and cleanse and purify yourself. It's, learning telepathy. It's learning to remote view. It's learning to travel out of body. There's the mystery school tradition is vast. There's a lot of things in it. And it's also a spiritual path, not a religion. But, But once you recognize that you and I are the same, we're all threads in a great tapestry, right? We are all that there is. That's a lot to land for a human who believed that they were an individual with a unique personality on the planet, right? You know, so there's a lot of things that happen in there. And then that's in the mystery school tradition. But I'm also a medical intuitive, and I'm also the bearer of the Antonian stone, which was a gift from our star brothers, which allows me to return DNA blueprints to the uncorrupted blueprint. And, you know, so those are ways to heal body, mind, soul, spirit, energy fields, all of that. And, you know, a lot of people, by the time something manifests in our body physically, there's been something going on psychologically or emotionally in us that was, we call disease dis-ease, right? So, you know, there's a whole line that happens there, getting right with ourselves, getting right with our spirit, and, you know, and then beginning to develop a relationship with our higher self, our multidimensional self.
So, do you do a lot of studies from others who've gone, who have this, or is it something that you just like? I mean, you just personal study with your reaching out to the universe. What's going on?
Yeah, spirit trained me. I was in intense training with my higher self, my higher aspect, for 5 solid years. 5 solid years. And so, you know, people are always telling me, oh, have you ever read this guru or that guru? And I have no idea who they're talking about.
Okay, good. I mean, that sounds the way you're supposed to be, really.
Yeah. Well, and occasionally I was led to somebody for verification. You know, because I just my human couldn't quite believe this particular thing was happening. And so then spirit would lead me to something, you know, where some Tibetan monk would be explaining, you know, yes, teleportation is possible, or yes, bilocation is possible, you know. So occasionally I was led somewhere very briefly just for verification, you know, and then I would go back into training again and go, okay, this too is possible.
Well, you know, it is, you know, it's again, for my logical mind, it's past my logical mind. So like,
the mind has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
The only thing the mind can do to help us with any of that is get out of the way and get really quiet. And that's it. That's all it can do. That's its huge, big job, is to get out of the way and be quiet.
Yeah. Well, that's where I'm going to have to learn, because that has always been my, and you know what, it really, in reality, would you say it would be a stumbling block that I would have, would be that I've let my mind hold me back. You
bet. You know, and one of the things that makes the awakening of consciousness so hard, and this is where the dark night of the soul comes in, is the ego, the mind, the personality construct. It is afraid that if anything else runs the show, it will be extincted, that it will be killed, that it will not be needed anymore. And so it goes into full-fledged fight and flight, and it will try very hard to keep you away from the truth that you are, just because it's afraid of being extincted. You know?
Wow.
But there comes this point, like Spirit and I used to have this joke, you know, because Spirit would be going, I need you to go over here, go over here, go over here. And, you know, it was like cross country. And I was like, listen, somebody's got to drive the car. Let me drive the car. Show me where to go, you know, but we need to take roads. And one of us needs to be cognitive of roads, you know, and, you know, the same thing with, you know, putting gas in the vehicle and all of that. The mind is needed. The mind is absolutely needed. And the personality is needed too. So it's really kind of a division of labor, where instead of the ego being the boss of absolutely everything and nothing can be done if the ego can't figure it out, the ego learns it has a chair, a respected and loved and beloved chair at the boardroom table, and it's part of a committee. Wow.
And you know, Angela, and I sit and think of that. You know, I mean, some of the you were describing it there. All right, you know, where the mind has a place, and I think mind goes back to you know, it's a control issue. You know what I mean? I've got to be in control. I've ridden motorcycle 1 million miles. I've got to be in control. But I sit and think about how many times I've created something because I stopped and let my mind go for a minute. And is that what we're talking about here, where I've stopped in my mind going all of a sudden now, oh my gosh, I can think through the process I've got to do for my marketing.
Or it's just there. The information is suddenly there. Oh, light bulb. I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's the first hint of what I'm talking about.
Wow. Okay. Now I get it. Now I'm starting to understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's your clue that there's something I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you help others now with this. All right. Do you you said you a school, or is that you have a school, or is it that
I do
you work in a school?
Yep. No, I have a school. It's called the Inner Passage Mystery School. Mm-hmm. And you can find the mystery school or access. I think it's listed under psychic abilities or psychic development, but on my website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you then take some people who want to go one-on-one with you to really, you know what I mean, tune into their world.
Right now, it's all one-on-one. I keep trying to get my students in classes, and they don't want to do it. They want it to be one-on-one. So, you know, I've got a few more slots available. As long as I can do it on one-on-one, I'll do that. I think the advancement is faster and more profound one-on-one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would think it would be one-on-one work. Again, part of it would be, in my mind, all right, as I immediately go into things in class, like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want to open up about certain things in class where others might hear it. So yeah, I would want to do that with you one-on-one, where I know you're going to help me keep it private and deal with it as it comes out.
Well, and there's an energetic as well. So one thing as a teacher I do is I extend my field over you. And my field has in it information, downloads, and certain frequencies and certain vibrations that maybe you haven't ever got to experience before. So if we're, for example, just beginning to do remote viewing, I've overlapped a field over you that makes it easier for you for the mind to go into silence and allow the information to come in. So I hold a field for you to learn in. You know, and that's the beautiful thing of working one-on-one with a teacher, or in small groups with a teacher, is they can extend their fields. And that field has a lot of information that you kind of absorb, osmosis, right? I actually had a student one time pick up psychic surgery from me, which was maybe not what I had wanted, because they didn't quite have the full development to be able to really handle that at that time. So, yeah, but that information becomes available in my field.
Cool. So let me go back in history a little bit. I love doing this back and forth with things to really let my audience know a lot about you. So if you went back to, say, when you were 10 years old, all right, did the little girl in you ever think that this is where I was going to be when I got later in life?
Oh, goodness, no. I mean, I had glimpses, as I think we all did as a child, of certain abilities that were there. But I was, even as I was going, oh, hey, how did that just happen? Or what was that? I had parents in society telling me, oh, it's your imagination. So even as I was discovering things, I was being reprogrammed by a culture and stuff. So, you know, I didn't really get to develop anything because it got reprogrammed.
So yeah, so I mean that was back then. I mean, and I could see that, all right, and a lot of things. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? It's the parents trying to keep the children safe, not necessarily understanding that this is the gift that God's giving them. So I see that, but now, you know, now we're on the other side of it, and you look back, all right, there are kids out there who are right now being told by the parents, oh no, that's just imagination. And what would you say to those kids? Because you know that, you know what I mean, 20 years from now, they're going to realize this in their own life.
Trust yourself. You're an ancient being. You're an eternal soul in a child's body. Trust the millennia of knowledge inside of you. Don't let the world shut you down. Learn the rules of the world. But don't let it stupefy you.
Cool. So, and are your parents, you know, still with us today, or are they?
My mother is. She might even be watching. I always try to encourage her to watch these, but But my father's passed over,
mhm.
but I'm still in communication with him from time to time.
Yeah, same here. My mom lives real close to me, so she sees a lot of everything I do. She comes to all my seminars and stuff as well. So it's good. So now your mom, totally gets you as an adult. Does she now look at the big picture and go, "Oh, I
She's
knew that."
working on it.
Oh, okay.
My mother is a lay pastor
Mhm.
in the Methodist Church. So
Oh,
speaking of programming, she's got a lot of indoctrination.
my aunt was, my aunt who
Yeah,
passed away last year was a Methodist pastor in the Methodist church. Yes, yeah,
yeah,
get it, totally get
yeah.
it.
So, I think I'm opening her a little bit
Mhm,
to,
mhm,
that there's more going on out there. And there's a little part of her that was. I mean, I remember she was probably in her 30s and she was reading Edgar Casey's books for a while.
mhm,
And, that was beginning to open her up. So,
mhm,
and, we live forever. It doesn't matter if she opens up this lifetime or not. I'm going to love her just the way she is
mhm,
anyway.
mhm.
She's a beautiful soul to me. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and that's it. And it's like my mom. I think my mom's still waiting for me to get a haircut and look like a real man. But anyway, it's funny. They love us, all right, but they've got to learn. You know what I mean? What God has told us to do. And I find it. So I'm like imagining your journey as I'm looking at my own journey.
Yeah.
Because even though my story is different, there's similarities, I think, in a lot of our journeys along the way. We have a lot of similarities, and that's how I learn by studying what you went through with your journey, and how others went through.
Well, you're fearlessly and courageously living you,
Yeah, yeah,
right? I
yeah,
couldn't ask anything more for you,
yeah.
right? As long as you keep digging for your truth and living you courageously, you're
Mhm.
on path.
Cool, cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the future. I mean, do you make like big plans, big goals in your life, or do you just, you know what I mean? Do you take the world as it is in the present?
I'm pretty much directed. Spirit lets me know.
Uh-huh.
I'm playing right now. I love to travel out of body. So,
Okay.
around 10 years old, I really wanted to be an astronaut. Well, you know, I'm a girl, and I didn't get the Ivy League education that you need to have to be an astronaut. So that wasn't actually going to happen. But after awakening, I learned how to travel out of body, and not
Mhm.
just travel out of body, but take whole groups with me. And so I
Yeah.
get to explore worlds, incredible worlds. Um, and I get to take my friends, and how fun is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I
And
mean, well, go ahead, continue.
And so, that's become kind of known. And the Psi department at the university here has started doing some testing on me. And originally that was a random number generator, and I was completely able to alter that, and make the numbers do what I wanted to do. And that got their interest. And so they came up with another experiment to do, which involves traveling out of body. So a couple days a week, I'm the subject of the university who's, studying this essentially.
Mhm, mhm.
And, that's a lot of fun. My brain likes that, right? The brain's not the one that can do it. It's not the part of me that can do it, but it loves to return with the data. And so I'm getting to study things that I never dreamed I would get to study. Like
Wow.
there was this really fascinating thing that happened where I had jumped into the lab where I was supposed to go to get these numbers for the university and return with the numbers. So I'm jumping forward in time, getting something and coming back. And I kept getting sucked into this like crack in the lab that was like hanging in space. And it was like a quantum rift.
Mhm.
And I kept having to fight my way back through to get back to the lab and get another couple of numbers and I get sucked into it again. And I couldn't figure out what in the world was going on. And so, when I got done, I started quizzing them and I could describe where it was in the lab and what was going on. And it turned out they had a quantum computer that was unplugged and not working. It was just like the disk, the
Mhm.
hard drives or whatever it is and it was causing a quantum rift in the lab.
Wow.
Like, who would have known that? You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, so you're blowing my mind. You know that, right?
Yeah, that's what I do.
And you're humble about it. So, but you know, I find all this really, really interesting, Angela, and really, you've been on an interesting journey, and you're still going on to it. You know, right now, a lot of us are stuck at home, and we would love to travel places like you do. Tell us about how we can do that.
This is a great time to do it. You know, you don't have, corporate America hounding at you. Right now is the time. Right now is the time to get to know who you are and unplug from everything else. And that begins with the silence of the mind. However, you can get silent and have no thoughts in your head. That is the beginning. That's when, and that might be through yoga, it might be through Tai Chi, it might be through, Qigong or meditating. But that's when you first learn that you're not the thinking mind, that the thoughts come, they're like fish and they swim by, and you can cut them off. You can observe the thoughts, and it's some other parts is doing the observing. It's not the thinking mind. The thinking mind's busy thinking a thought, right? This is where you start learning that there's planes or levels to your awareness. You are awareness itself. And the thinking mind is one mechanism within this greater strong construct of awareness.
Wow. And one of the things that I've always done in my morning routine, and right now I can't because of my world's messed up with being stuck at home. But I go out every morning, Angela, and I go to Starbucks, and most people are like, well, you're going to Starbucks to get your coffee. No, I go there. That's my peace of mind. I don't take, other than my phone so I can pay, hardly, most of the time, maybe I'll take a notepad. That's it. And I sit and sometimes stare for 20 minutes, and I get some of the best ideas of my day. Is that practicing what you're teaching?
Well, you're still thinking. Well, maybe not. It depends. If you're getting, these light bulb moments, it's just like, whoa, where'd that come from? Then that was something that your higher self or this, multidimensional consciousness was able to slip to you.
Okay.
So, so there is something of that, but you really want to grow that and expand that. Yeah.
I'm going to, but that has always been, I live and work at home. So it's like my sleeping place is just down the stairs. So it's like, that has always been my inner piece, is to go out and I always use Starbucks, and I used to do it twice a day. And literally that was where a lot of my ideas came from. But then I go to bed at night, and I'll have like these ideas. So now I come up here, and I will come up and start in the office and start writing things down. You know what I mean? My wife goes to bed early, and I go to bed later, but then she gets up early and I get up later. You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of my creativeness comes out at night. And that's, you know what I mean? I spent a lot of my day, clearing my mind, and that's at night. I'm about to sit down and try to relax my mind, and boom, all these things come to me.
So that's when you shift from left brain to right brain, right? And that's what creatives do, and they tend to be night owls, right? I used to live in this neighborhood where it was an apartment complex, and it was a large park-like apartment complex, and they had kind of lumped us together. So they put all the families in this area and all the elderly people in this area, and they kind of put people by like people so they could develop community. So I was with the artists and musicians and the poets, right? And you could go out 3:00 in the morning to kind of clear your head and see the stars, and the whole building was just lit up. Everybody was doing their work, writing their music, painting. And the whole rest of the neighborhood was completely asleep. So that's when your right brain kicks in.
Wow. So now I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about, about what you do. All right. And a lot about myself. And I get the feeling that this is just the beginning of the journey. All right. Now work with your clients. This is what I've just figured out here in 35 minutes time, is just like a sliver of a sliver.
Yeah, get curious. Get
Yeah.
real curious.
Mhm.
Get, how when we are young, we just get burned up over something,
Mhm.
whatever it is, learning how to skateboard, right? Or something. And it just, everything, we did all these other things just so we could get to the skateboarding part, right? We were just burned up and, we'd have, scrapes and bruises and bleeding, but we were ate up and we didn't care. We were going to learn how to do it.
Mhm.
Get curious about who you are.
I'm
Get
going to
real
now.
curious.
Really curious now. Yeah. So, Selena, I guess this is someone who knows you. She's asking me to tell us about your crystal bed.
Oh, yeah. So one of the things that Spirit downloaded a whole lot of information to me from former lives, particularly from Lemuria, when we as human beings worked a lot with crystals. It was the peak of our technology. Still kind of is, actually. All of our electronics have crystals in them. And if we pull the crystals back out, we would be back to the Industrial Revolution. But yeah, so I have, let's see if I can show that. This is a Oregon generator crystal bio bed. Actually, let me open it up because a picture's worth 1,000 words.
Why not? And I can put it on full screen if you want to do it. So.
Okay.
So that is wow. Okay, now explain that to Rational Tim here, who's watching.
Okay. So what that's doing is it is producing energy. It's producing cosmic energy. It's a healing energy. It's and it puts out quite a bit of it too.
Okay.
So, and then the crystals that are inside of it are organized to match our body. So we have things like blue calcite, which helps the brainstem and the brain pan. We have in the middle of the bed, we have green calcite, which helps the organs of elimination. At the feet and the legs, we have a lot of red calcite and carnelian, which help with large muscle groups and blood flow, and on and on and on. So the crystals inside the bed are very distinctly laid out to naturally cause healing in the body. Now, are you ready for this, Tim?
Yeah.
Crystals are sentient. They're beings. They have consciousness. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. They're carbon-based like we are. They are in a solid form. We're in a liquid form. So when we work with crystals, and especially in a really large mass like that, but it can be even a small crystal in your hand, it begins to organize you, return you to a very natural form. Crystals can run energy. They do piezoelectricity and piezoelectricity. These are two types of different energies, okay? And they can order structures. They are highly ordered themselves. They're very organized and very, very much a state of perfection. This is why they run all of our electronics. That's why your phone has it and your computer has it and everything else. That the original radios were crystal radios running a frequency through a crystal. Yeah.
Wow.
They're basically the base of our technology, even though we don't really talk about it, but yeah. And so when we get exposure to a lot of crystals, they energize the very cells of our body, and they organize structures that are tweaked, that are in misalignment. They realign them. So just working with a crystal is very healing. And when you can be inside of an entire field where your, not only your body, but your entire biomagnetic field is encased by crystal energy, it not only heals your body, it evolves your consciousness.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I could go off for like 2 hours on crystals, but
I know. I mean, because you've studied this. All right. When you told me you spent 5 years, you know what I mean, studying this, I'm like, that's a college education you've spent studying this.
Yep.
And I'll bet you've continued to study since then.
Yeah, but it's expanding now. You know, now I'm moving out more into the universe as well. So I kind of dove into, you know, the microscopic cellular atomic level, you know, where I was dancing with, you know, electrons and atoms and stuff like that. Now I'm moving out into the larger cosmos. So, but, you know, in a way, we're talking energy. We're talking the substructure of the universe, right? So it's the same subject. It's just whether it's through the microscope or the telescope.
Wow. Well, all this is so interesting. All right. And there are people who are going to listen to this broadcast for months and months on end, and they're going to want to know how to get a hold of you. Oh. What is the best way to do that?
So my website, which is Crystal Arrays are crystals lined in circuitry. Okay, because, you know, more is better.
Yeah.
crystalarrays.com. There is a contact tab on there where you can contact me. There's also a free gift. If you look under the shop button, I believe it says free gift. There's also a media video page where you can see some other interviews with me. There's a lot of stuff on the website. So it's a great place to contact me. While you're there, get your free gift. It is a crystal array transmission. So you're getting the frequencies like a radio station, but it helps organize the structures in your body. And because all time and space is now, this totally works.
Oh, wow. So, and now I actually went to your website today, but I didn't watch the videos because I literally wanted to talk to you first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen all that stuff, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. I gotta wait. I gotta go. I gotta talk to her first before I watch the other videos.
I have a new series out on YouTube. It's only about 3 episodes. My favorite episode that's up right now is called Weeble World, and it's an out of body trip to a world that we call Weeble World. There was 2 or 3 of us on that trip, and it even has sketches and stuff, because when we come back, before we debrief, we sketch it out, and we write down everything as quick as we can. And so it's got sketches and everything of the world, and that's really fun. So, you know, if you are interested in learning what are you besides just human, and you know, can you leave your body? Can you go to other places? It should be a fairly inspiring series. Get curious, be curious, and I'm there to cheer you on because you know, I really wanted to be an astronaut. So now in a way now,
you are.
I am. I'm an ethernaut. You know, I didn't know at 10 years old I could be an ethernaut. I thought astronaut was the only.
So, and look at who joined the conversation. Yep. And this is what she put up earlier today.
Aww. Well, Tim's pretty great.
Kathy, I love her. She's awesome. Yeah. So anyway, well, you know, this has just been an enlightening show. All right. For me, it's probably the most, you know what I mean, different than I ever expected it to be show ever, because it was totally different than what I expected. And I like that. It's because it was a total, you know what I mean, a total awakening and eye opening to a world that I didn't know existed.
Yeah. And it does. And, you know, basically at any point in history, about 10% of the total population is awakened. That might not sound like much, but that's 1 in 10 people.
Yeah.
Right? And we find each other, and we're tribe, and we ignite each other, and we give each other permission to explore more and more who we are. So, you know, it's a beautiful thing. There's people around you somewhere that are, you know.
So, and of course, Terry says, very cool show. Thanks for watching, Terry. And I've seen some people who actually have shared this out, so I appreciate it. Kathy, rock your world. Tim Gillette, thank you. So, well, you know, I got to ask this because I really want to, you know what I mean, before I do my little fun game, I want to ask you to do something for the people who listened in and may listen to this whole thing. Right now, some of them are stuck at home and they're looking for anything that it would enlighten their soul or advice, what would you tell them?
All right. So I'm just going to kind of collect and I'm just going to kind of connect into the mass collective consciousness to get the appropriate answer, because there's many appropriate answers, but it always depends on the level of consciousness receiving the answer. And I want the answer to land. Follow your joy, that thing that makes your heart sing and your soul sing. Do that. Do more of it. That's your doorway into a greater, expanded you. Follow your joy.
Wow. Well, that was an awesome, guys. All right, there. That's my gift, or your gift, and our gift. I both, I guess, give to you, the listeners, tonight. So, Angela, it has been a joy having you on the show. I have to say that over and over again. But Angela, I always got to close out my broadcast with my little game.
Uh-oh.
You've heard about my game, haven't you?
I have, and I don't know what it's going to be. So.
It's going to be fun, I promise. So I ask about 9 questions. It's called This or That. And I learned it from watching, I'm a rocker, and I learned to watch Sammy Hagar do it. And I'm like, I'm cooler than Sammy Hagar, so why not put it in my own version on it? So I've got 9 questions, 2 different things. You just pick which one's you. In some cases, you're going to go, what? And in some cases, you're just going to automatically gravitate to one.
Okay.
You're a pretty intuitive person, so I kind of figured you're going to zip right through this. So number 1, I like to find out who my science fiction people are. And do you like Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek.
Oh, a Trekkie.
Yes, let's build things, not blow things up.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah. So you were the old school Star Trek like Kirk, or you Picard?
Oh, Picard.
Picard?
Yeah.
Got a young side to you. Okay.
Not that Picard's not young anymore, but
yeah. Well, actually, the guy who played Picard looks all right. If you put glasses on him, my father-in-law, we always said that he looked just like him.
Wow. Very cool.
So the next one here is, if you're riding in the car, would you prefer to listen to a podcast or music?
That just depends on the day. Yeah, that depends on the day.
We've done road trips where we've wanted to listen to podcasts, like interviews. And then most of the time, if I'm going from here to the store, it's whatever's on the radio type deal. Yeah.
I like books on tape for long road trips.
Yeah. That was, I actually mentioned this to somebody else today. When I drove truck in the early 90s, we used to get books on tape from you'd rent one at a truck stop and you'd return it at another truck stop. And that's how I got through driving truck.
That's actually how I got through War and Peace.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. So my next one here is kind of something my wife made for me today because she knows I love it. But pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Oh, yes. I lived in Hawaii for a while.
That's where it comes from. Hawaiian pizza. Yes. And she did. She made me a pepperoni and pineapple pizza was my lunch today.
Yay, wifey. You're expanding his horizons.
Yeah. So my next one is another food item. So taco or hamburger?
Taco. I grew up in New Mexico. That's just soul food.
Yeah. So you mentioned this earlier, the movie, so I got to ask, the red pill or the blue pill?
Is it the red pill? Whichever one takes you down the rabbit hole.
See, I have to always look it up because I always forget it, and I didn't look it up before this.
Oh no! Yeah, I can't. The one that takes you down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's the one that's the truth. I want the truth. I don't want to be down in you know what I mean? Misled into a false life. So.
Well, the truth is the rabbit hole, just so you know.
Yeah.
And you don't get to come out again.
Yep, that's right.
Not ever going to put that genie back in the bottle.
Nope. So the next one here is personal drinking preference. Do you like a beer or wine?
Probably wine.
Wine?
Yeah.
No. I alternate it. Sometimes I say beer or wine. Sometimes I do coffee or tea. I decided to do beer or wine tonight. So,
well, what happened after awakening is I went from I could have 2 glasses of wine and I was fine to I could have a quarter of a glass of a wine and I was laid out.
Oh, like, wow.
Overnight, it completely shifted me. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I hardly drink at all now.
Yeah. Now, we have drink tons of wine, but I sip wine. This is my monster right here. And that's my moonshine. And I sip on that.
Is that bourbon or whiskey?
No, it's moonshine. Moonshine.
Oh, it's really moonshine.
Really moonshine. Yes.
Oh, wow. Rawr.
But I can sip on that all day. Like you don't chug that. You just sip on it. But you know what I mean? If I sat and had like 2 martinis, yeah, I'm buzzed. But if I sip on that all day, I'm fine. Interesting about how alcohol affects us. Yeah.
Well, when we change frequency, yeah, it's a lot of things change.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one here I have is: would you prefer the desert or the woods?
The woods.
The woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, walking through the trees, hearing the noises. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My next one here is a war builder. All right. Too many people fight wars over this one, but I've got to ask. And it's asked, everybody gets these last 2. And this one here would be the toilet paper. Does it go over or under on the roll?
You know, that's just a no-brainer. It goes over. I know, Angela, I've had some of the calmest people on the show. When you get to that question, they are violently over. It's so funny to watch. It's like everything's open to discussion except the toilet paper. Yeah, not that one. Well, if you think about it, if it goes under, it's closer to the wall. So as you swoop it, you may touch the wall and you're leaving bacteria, blah, blah, blah. It's more sanitary when it's over and free in space and you're not accidentally touching anything or whatever.
Yeah. And I've never heard the same explanation as to why. Every time someone explains why it's over or under, it's a totally different explanation.
Oh, that's great.
See why I do these questions? All right. These are fun. So my last one I'd like to ask, and it's just, you know what I mean? What's your personal preference? And not saying that you wear these, but I mean, boxers or briefs? She's trying to picture what they look like.
I don't know. I don't know. They're like boxers, but they're really tight, but they kind of come down on the thighs.
Yeah. They're called boxer briefs. There's an in between, I think, is what you're thinking. Yeah.
That would be my answer. Boxer briefs.
See, it's a fun game, all right, and it gives people oh my gosh, yeah. So one more time, Angela, I thank you for coming on the show, and please say your website one more time, so people can hear it both on the audio and the video.
CrystalArrays.com. That's CrystalArrays. So think arrays like the VLA, the Very Large Array, which is a whole network of satellites that are linked together to be a radio telescope. So this is what an array is. It's a number of similar objects brought together to be larger than the whole. Cool.
So, wow, this has been one awesome time we've spent together. The hour, we almost did an hour too, and we said we might go a little longer tonight because it's going to be a good conversation. So, thank you again, Angela, and to you, the listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Please go check out Angela and everything that she does. Again, you will be just as fascinated as I was tonight. All right. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast. It's on iTunes now, or Apple Podcasts, and Anchor and YouTube. I'm Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. Thank you again, Angela. We will see you guys next time. Bye now.